Hi, welcome to Sea Rocks. Today we'll be playing with some texture art and making these really unique terrazzo waves. Stay tuned and let's dive in. Hi, welcome to making terrazzo waves. This is a wood panel board. It's 11 by 14. I taped off the back. I picked this board up, I think, at Dollar Tree. Just be careful when you purchase from any place like that they're not warped. I made these templates because we're going to make some waves. So I cut them out of paper first to make sure I like the size and proportion. And then I cut them out of the cardboard, which is what we'll be making our terrazzo paste on. But first off, we're going to prime this wooden board with some gesso acrylic primer, especially when we're working with a modeling paste or a spackle. The wood will absorb the moisture and cause cracks and other things you don't want. So we're going to prime this up with the gesso, get it all completely covered. But please bear with me as I work out all the technology glitches and kinks. It does clear up, honestly. Now, let's speed up this process. Today's recipe is going to be a joint compound you can find at a home improvement store, some modeling paste, and some white acrylic paint, which will mix together, and a palette knife. Stir it on up. There you go. All right, so we're ready. We've mixed up our concoction and we're ready to spread it on our board. It looks like frosting, doesn't it? It's so pretty, but please don't eat it. As far as a recipe goes, it's about 3/4 joint compound. The rest is modeling paste and a little squeeze of acrylic paint in there. I'll be honest with you, every single texture artist has their own recipe, their own special ingredient sometimes, and it's just whatever you as the artist like to work with best, what works for you, just like anything else in art. So we're gonna go ahead and speed past this, but what I'm gonna do is just spread it on evenly. Try not to get it too thick because you will see what happens. So we're all spread out. We're ready to make some pattern. I have a general idea of what I want. Something kind of, I don't know, something with movement. How's that? And so I didn't like my first go at it. It's a wonderful thing about this medium is that if you don't like what you have, you can just wipe it off or flatten it out and go for the next one. Now, definitely clean off your tools before it dries because it makes a hard, nasty mess. So plan B, didn't like the purple comb, I'm gonna try the orange comb and see how this will work. Again, no plan in mind, just a general idea. And I missed a spot. In all honesty, I think the board was warped. But in my infinite wisdom, I'm gonna put more paste on the board. Okay, so I am not a professional texture artist. I'm just a professional creative person. And I sell things. So that makes me a professional artist apparently. But so we're going to try again. Now, third tool, plan C. And this was more of the idea that I wanted to create, was something kind of wavy, something to contrast the flat waves, because I'm gonna leave the waves flat. And I believe this is gonna work. Okay, let that dry for 24 hours, and I came back and surprise! Cracks. Lots of cracks. Oh my gosh. Which I kind of expected it because I work heavy-handed anyway. But I'm going to sand it off. Well, not really sand it off, but sand it down a little bit. So I took the sandpaper to this just to knock it down a little bit. Personally, I like it better that way. And now the process of filling in the cracks, which is going to be a pain in the butt and very tedious. So I took the joint compound and some water and just made a paste that is just enough that it'll fill in the cracks without leaving more marks. Again, there's no recipe. You just have to figure out what works best for you and how much work you want to create for yourself. Okay, huge improvement. And I'm just getting the last little bits. While my background is drying, we're going to gesso our cardboard cutouts. We're going to seal these up because, again, same idea is that we don't want the cardboard stealing the moisture out of the texture paste. So I'm going to go ahead and give a good coat of the primer on here, both pieces, and also want to make sure and get the sides as well. Now our cutouts, both of them are dry on top and on the edges. Don't worry about the bottom. I'm going to take the joint compound and I'm going to pre-fill in the sides just so that there aren't any surprises when I go to put the final coat on. And then I'm also going to put a coat, a thin coat of the joint compound on top of each one of the waves. That way there's a foundation, because as we know, I like to be heavy-handed, and hopefully this will help with that. We'll see. Now we're ready for the next step. Our waves are finished. Well, they're dry and they're nice and hard, and the edges are all done. You see the back, no worries. So they're ready to go. Now, the terrazzo colors, both the blue and the aqua. I will make a whole video on making the terrazzo paste, and then maybe we'll do another project. But this is super easy to do, and it just flakes right off. So all I'm going to do is flake it off. And I'm sure there has to be an easier system than this, but this is my first time trying it. I was excited to try these terrazzo style waves with you. And anyway, so I'm just going to fill up those little cups, and then we'll be ready for the next step. Now we're ready to make the mixture for our terrazzo waves. Going to take joint compound and make sure you put enough in your container that will cover your wave. And then to the joint compound, we're going to add some white acrylic paint. After that, it's all mixed up nice and creamy. Then we'll add the colored terrazzo. and it will, the terrazzo will kind of flake and chip, so that's fine, that's normal. And then you're gonna put in however much you think you're gonna want. A little for a little look, a lot for a bold look. And it's personal preference. I'd never done it before. I don't know if I would do it any differently next time, but it's pretty cool at the end. Once we get it mixed up, then we'll spread it on our first wave. Now we're ready to spread it on. Just want to make sure you get it all covered as evenly as possible. The sides, the edges. And then if you have any gloppy areas, just kind of smooth them off with the side of your tool, or whatever you're using. Just get it as even as possible. And now we're ready for the big wave. My mixture of joint compound and acrylic white paint are already whipped up. I added heavy-handedly the blue terrazzo in there. And this one I found I ended up having a lot of chunks. When I do this again, I will make my little bits and pieces not so big. You can kind of see I have those like big chunks in that little container over there of the blue terrazzo. I would make them a little smaller, not all of them, but just not use as many of the big pieces. I thought that would be best. But anyway, so we're gonna mix it up and then spread it on. You'll see as I start to spread it how much blue is in there. It looks pretty cool. Again, just make sure you've got everything evened out as much as possible and get your edges. Here we are, 24 hours later, and now let's see, it's all dry. And yes, there are lots of cracks, but I like these cracks. I think they look like kind of like crackle paste, like they're almost on purpose. Now to reveal the look and colors of the terrazzo, as well as even some of the lumps and bumps out and some of the cracks, I'm gonna go ahead and take a sanding block and sand this. Now, I don't recommend doing this inside. Take it outside because it gets so darn dusty, because this is just like sanding your drywall. It's very dusty. So this has been sanded and brushed, and I am thrilled with how it turned out. It looks so cool, and the cracks are minimized a little bit, but again, it looks like it's meant to be there, like a crackle paste. The edges are done. Don't forget to sand those as well. Oh, I love this look. It is going to be so pretty. And then look at this. The aqua and the dark blue together. One of our last steps will be to seal our project before we glue it together. So I'm going to use this Krylon product. It's a UV resistant clear acrylic coating. And I'm using a matte because I want to finish my piece with a matte finish. Now, if you want glossy or shiny finish, you're going to make sure and get a gloss. Now I'm just making sure that I have my hanger already on before I glue everything down. That way I won't ruin it. Just making sure of my placement. I'm going to be using the E6000 glue. I really like that one. And I'm going to put it all around, not quite to the edge, because if you put it onto the edge and you push it down, it's going to squish out the edges or the sides. And you don't want that because the glue is going to dry shiny. And if you're keeping this a matte piece, it's going to ruin your piece. So when I get it all glued and placed on the background, I'm going to use some really heavy products to sit on top of it to hold it down so it gets a real good adherence. So I let this dry a few hours and then taking everything off for the nice reveal, and there it is, all glued down. Now find the best placement for the smaller wave and get ready to glue that one down as well. Now we're ready for the big reveal. Did it stick? It did. We're going to take the tape off of the edges. Just be careful in case you got overzealous and got it over the side. You might peel off some of your design, and you don't want to do that. And then once we do this, we're going to go ahead and paint the edges. I'm going to paint this piece, the edges white. I'm not painting anything else but the edges. Otherwise, it is ready to go. Hey, thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I invite you to join the Sea Rocker family. All you have to do is like, share, and subscribe, and it helps me put out more content creations for you. Don't forget to follow me on my other social media platforms. Thanks for watching. Until next time, go beach or go home.